What's up with you guys? I know it's been quite a long time since you guys have seen me, coming from when I first started doing YouTube videos where I didn't even have facial hair. I looked so different, and now I have a beard, and so much has changed. I didn't even have these tattoos. It's been a while since I've been consistent. I've been doing little to nothing when it comes to my channel. And there's many factors of why, and there's a lot of factors that just deal with self-doubt. When I started this channel, I didn't think that I would accomplish the things that I had accomplished. And even though for some people it may be a little of an accomplishment, there's people that have accomplished much more. But for me, as someone that was never into social media and never thought a day in life that I would get to a point of even having 10 million views. That's 10 million people that had seen me, whether they clicked on a video and watched the entire time or whether they clicked on a video and clicked off the video. They see my face, and I never thought that I would gain that much of attention at all. I just genuinely wanted to give it an effort and have hopes of inspiring others, just having fun and showing people that you can come from little to nothing and turn that little to nothing into something. And that was my main focus. And of course, there's other things that I wanted through doing YouTube. Who doesn't want the funds? Who doesn't want to, be able to take care of their family, their loved ones, and all those things. And also, I just wanted to have the opportunity to change the world, and help those that need the help, those that feel like they can't get the help or there's no one there to help them. Those are the people that I wanted to be able to help. And I knew, when it comes to YouTube, when you get to a certain point, you can make a certain amount of income. And I wanted to use that income not just for my personal use or, just to take care of my family, my loved ones, but to also help those that are in the need of help for many different reasons. And I started to gain a little bit of a buzz. At one point my video views was amazing. And as I started to slow down creating content and, I shied away from creating content, it started to go down more and more and more, and it got to a point that I was like, okay, I'm not going up, I'm seeming to go down. But also I had to blame myself because I wasn't being as consistent, but I also couldn't be as consistent because I had things going on in my life. And, it kind of prevented me from being able to really fully do what I wanted to do and had intentionally set out to do. So it made it difficult for me. And then my life got even worse than it already was. So therefore I had to really take even more of a step back from creating content. And then eventually I just stopped creating content. And then in between times I'll do videos here and there and, but it just wasn't as consistent as I wanted to be. And trust me, if I didn't have all the things going on in my life, I would have been full force creating content for you guys to watch and enjoy. And, I always had loved doing this. I had a passion for it. I took the time to learn how to edit and all the things that I learned to do. And I'm very proud of myself of what I have accomplished, I came from little to nothing to being able to have something. At one point when I was recording videos, I didn't even have a room of my own, you know, and you know, I was young, trying to figure out life. I thought I had life figured out until after high school, and then so much changed for me, and my life got twisted upside down, you know, and I was trying to learn me and what I wanted in life, and you know, what would make me happy in life. But I just at some point got tired of telling you guys, oh, I'm about to be back, or you know, oh, I'm gonna try to be more consistent, and then I failed, and then I do it again. The next video I finally do months later, and it just got annoying to the point that I just completely just said, okay, let me just stop creating content, and hopefully those that enjoy watching me will come back to watching me when I finally do upload something, and let me get myself together, and let me get my mental together. And that's what I set out to do. But there's a few things that I want to like talk about in this video, right? So I want to discuss, of course, when it comes to creating content, and you know, me wanting to create content and things of that nature, and you know, my life and all of those things. Of course I want to discuss those things, but I also want to use this video to also help someone that may be going through something similar to what I'm going through, you know. So recently, not too long ago, you guys, I had got into a relationship. Of course, we were at the talking stage at first, and then it progressed. It just felt so natural. It felt like I was in a perfect world with that individual, and it seemed like they shared the same opinion. You know, they felt like everything was perfect when it came to us. And little did I know, the person that I thought I knew was completely different than how they presented themselves. And part of me blamed myself because I ignored the red flags just because I was so stuck on wanting to be happy with them and build a life with them, and you know, all of those things that you do when you start to love a person, that you start to ignore the signs and things that you should not ignore, but you don't want to lose that person, so you ignore those things. And I had started to do that. But I got into a relationship, and you know, I was happy, and I just knew that was going to be my person, you know? And everything did a 360 for me. And I'm going to use my life choices and what I've been through, because I know it's plenty of other people that have been through breakups that can relate. But that person ended up being completely different than who I thought they were. And a lot of the things that they were telling me were lies. And one thing you don't do is lie to the person that you claim you love. Even if you feel as though it's to protect their feelings, you shouldn't lie to them. And if you feel like you have to lie to that person, you shouldn't be with that person to begin with. Because everything that's in the dark always comes to light eventually. Especially if there's a consistency of you lying. It's going to catch up with you at some point. And if you feel like you're going to lie to a person or, be dishonest to a person, what's the sense of you being with someone to begin with? Because if you're going to be with someone you want to commit to and be with, you should treat them how you would want to be treated, not the opposite. You can't expect to do good by a person and then want that person to, you can't expect to do wrong to that person and then expect for them to do good towards you. And I also believe that if a person's doing you wrong, you shouldn't get back. Leave that person. But sometimes when you're so stuck into that person, you don't want to see your life without that person because you feel like you're going to be miserable. And trust me, there's always light at the end of the tunnel. You may not think it is, but trust me, as it progresses, as you continue to walk through that tunnel and keep your head up and hold your head high, you will get through leaving that individual. If that person isn't treating you right and you know you don't deserve it, leave that person. And it might be hard, it might be difficult, but you're better off doing that for yourself than allowing that person to continue to hurt you while you're continuing to cater towards them and their needs and their sadness and their feelings and everything about them. You're catering towards it because you want them to be happy, but they're not even providing you with happiness. Never put someone else's happiness before yours, because it's going to put you down a really dark hole. And I started to go towards that really dark hole because for so long, all the signs that I seen, I was ignoring. And, anytime I expressed myself, it was like I'm being insecure or nothing that person does is right. It seems like I'm just always have something to say about them or what they do, and it was always flipping it and kind of like reversing it to make me feel bad. And it got to a point that I started to feel like, dang, maybe they're right. And that's someone that's being a narcissist. They're capable of using you expressing yourself and wanting them to change and flipping it to what you're expressing to them. You're wrong for even expressing it to them because they're not doing anything, or you're complaining too much. And you start to question yourself, like, maybe I am, or maybe I am doing too much. And those are the things that it's normal. Even as a guy, many guys feel like, it's wrong to express yourself. Don't let a woman make you feel like you expressing yourself makes you soft or insecure, or I'm not going to use the word, but many women like to say, all sorts of things to make you feel like you expressing yourself, you shouldn't be expressing yourself. When you should be happy that that individual is expressing themselves to you, because a lot of men don't express themselves. A lot of men feel like they can't express themselves. So when they find an individual that they express themselves to, that means something. You got them to open up. And I'm one of those guys that I don't like to express myself, because I was always told, oh, it's men can't cry. It makes you soft. It makes you a punk, So I always was like, you know what? Bottling in my feelings towards anything or anyone that done me wrong. I wouldn't express they did me wrong. I was always so upset. And, eventually everything that I bottled in would come out, and I would act in anger because I done held in so much. And it's not good to hold in everything, you know? But sometimes it's hard for a man to express themselves because you feel like you're going to get judged by it. And I thought me dealing with that person, I felt like I could express myself. And I could express myself when it came to me talking about other people, other individuals. But when it came to me expressing myself about them or critiquing their actions or things that's making me feel uncomfortable or bothering me, it was automatically being reversed around like I'm the issue. And it started to make me feel like I was being the issue because I just cared about that person so much and I didn't really want any type of confrontation or any issue. I just was feeling away and I thought me expressing myself would make them consider what I'm expressing and want to change so that we can move forward. But instead, it was, I can't do nothing right, or you're being insecure, or I haven't had to deal with this in past relationships or people that I dealt with, or just comparing their past to their present. And it's honestly disrespectful, but I cared about them so much that I ignored it and started to believe that I was the one that was wrong for me expressing myself. And eventually I grew tired and I would attempt to break up with that person, but I cared about them so much that I would accept them back. And it just continued on. I just kept breaking up with them. Then they come back around, break up with them. Then they come back around. And the last point that I felt as though, okay, this really isn't working, and I really started to realize myself. See, a guy can only take so much. If you don't change when they're asking you to change, at some point as a man, you're going to realize your worth and you're going to walk away. And when we walk away, we're not going to look back when we finally walk away. But what made me really realize that I should walk away from that person was the fact that I was having an issue with being able to breathe. Not too long ago. This was a few months ago. I was having an issue with being able to breathe one night, and I didn't know why. I was scared, I was afraid, and I ended up driving myself to the hospital. I ended up trying to call that person that I was with. They didn't answer. So I end up texting them, letting them know that something serious is going on, to hit me back. I took myself to the hospital and they said that I'm just gonna tell you guys, it wasn't nothing serious, but they said that I had a what is the name of it? Basically, and basically it's like having a code. I had a code pretty much, right? So they gave me some nasal spray, some Florence nasal spray, and a sinus infection. There we go. I had a sinus infection. So they gave me the pills to help for it and some Florence nasal spray. And you know, I went back home and finally, after hours, that person that I was with texted me saying, oh, I was asleep. And they just basically said they were asleep, right? I felt the way because I'm like, you don't know what could have happened to me or what the seriousness of the situation was. And you didn't even bother to reach out to me. You didn't bother to call me, you know, because my instincts is if someone tells me something's wrong with them, a family member, I'm going to call them immediately. Even if I have a partner, someone that I'm with, and they tell me something's wrong with them, or I see missed calls from them and they say something's wrong with them, I'm going to call them immediately. Now, the person that I was with, they didn't call me. They just sent me a text saying that they were asleep. And that made me feel some way, because I was like, wow, you really don't care. Like, as much as you say you care, you really do not care. Because if you cared, you would have called me immediately. And who knows what the seriousness of the situation could have been. I just said something serious is going on. Something's wrong. I ended up expressing that to that individual. And guess what they said? They said, well, you didn't text me and tell me that you were going to the hospital, so that's why I didn't call. I don't see a difference from me saying that I'm going to a hospital and me saying that something serious is going on with me. I don't really see a difference in that, because regardless, I'm saying something's wrong, and that should be enough for that person to panic and want to make sure that the person that they love, that they care about, is okay. That person didn't do that. And that really showed me, like, wow, this person really does not care as much as they say they do. Mind you, I had put up with so much throughout that relationship. Mind you, I had accepted so much throughout that relationship. This person didn't have their own transportation, and I put up with that because I had my own transportation. I know that sometimes people go through things. Everyone doesn't have their own car. Some people can't afford it. Some people are working on a budget. I understand those things. So, I did everything that I could when it came to having to pick them up, which was about 35 minutes away from me, depending on the location, whether it's their mom's house or, you're not going to believe this, or their baby daddy's mom's house. I was picking them up. Now, this is the crazy part about this, right? So, when I first started to date this individual, we aired out everything on the table. Like our life and things that come with us, things like that. And they told me that they had a child, and I was okay with that. But this is the part that they did not mention. Now, I was picking them up originally at their mom's house. Mind you, we are grown adults. She's 27. I'm now 28. We're both grown adults. I was picking her up at her mom's house, but she told me that she lived in a different area than where I was picking her up at. So it made me wonder, I thought she said she lived in this area. So eventually I ended up asking. I'm like, so do you live with your mom or you live somewhere else? Because where I'm picking you up isn't where you told me originally that you lived. That's when they chose to then say, oh, I don't live there. I just go to my mom's on the weekends because I be wanting to get away from where I actually live. Now, mind you, we in the beginning was airing out everything that came with us. Now they tell me that they live with, which I had to ask them to elaborate more. I had to ask them to do that. They said that they live with their baby daddy's mom, right? And the little brother. And of course, they got their son with them. So I say, okay, so where does your baby daddy live? which I shouldn't have had to ask. And they say that their child's father lives there also. They told me, well, she told me, sometimes I say they as in that one individual, but she told me that she lives in the living room. So my assumption is, okay, she's in the living room with her son, and the baby daddy is in his room. The mom is in her room, and the little brother is in his room. She failed to mention that her, the baby daddy, and her son all lives in the living room of her baby daddy's mom's apartment. She failed to mention that. And by that time, I already had felt in love with that person. And I just, they kind of made me feel like I don't have any worries, because they're like, oh, me and this person has nothing going on, and I haven't been with them, and just telling me certain things. Like they told me, oh, well, I have no respect for him, and he went through my diary and without my permission, and he was judging me based off of what he's seen in my diary that I was writing about myself, or how I feel about myself, and just telling me so many things to give me reasons of why they hate their baby daddy. And I let it get in my ear. At first I was upset, but I'm like, dang, we got so many trips planned and so much great things going on. I'm like ignoring it, and I shouldn't have. And that's why I say certain red flags I ignored. And I'm just giving you guys a bit of a story of what I've been going through, because there's many people that are going through something similar, male or female, can all learn from this. But I had ignored it. I let it be. After a while, I was upset for a minute. I let it be, and I continued on dealing with this person, even though if it wasn't the weekends, they were going and living in the living room with their baby daddy. And it bothered me. It continued to bother me. And I didn't even want to mention it to any of my family, because I'm like, I just know they're going to be like, what are you doing? What are you doing? Like, what are you doing? So I was just embarrassed to even mention it to anyone. And I continued to deal with that person. But every night it bothered me, and they would always have an excuse. So they would say things like, well, she would say things like, she was like, well, I work in the daytime, he works in the nighttime. So in the daytime, when I'm working, he's watching our son. And at nighttime, she's watching the son while he's at work. So they don't really see each other, right? Okay. And she just put so much in my head to make me feel comfortable, even though it was something I had never been comfortable with. And I allowed it. But it kept bothering me. Any moments that she wasn't answering the phone or things like that, of course, I would get bothered by it. And she would just make me feel like I'm just tripping, or I'm being insecure, or she'll be like, well, he's not even here, I just was asleep, or I was busy at the moment, but it bothered me. It was clear as day that it bothered me. If she wasn't answering the phone and 2-3 hours went by, I'm like freaking out, because I'm like, what's the issue? If I go an hour without texting you, all hell, it's all hell. But then you can go 2-3 hours without texting me, and I'm upset by it, and I'm tripping, or I'm being insecure, just things like that just filling up in my head. And they were just taking me for granted, but eventually I really just got tired of the lies. And I was just picking up on so many different things, like for example, she would be so quiet whenever he's around. Mind you, you're saying y'all are not together, y'all don't deal with each other, it's nothing going on. So, I'm like, whoever he talks to is not your business, and whoever you talk to isn't his business. But she would completely change up whenever he's around and she's still on the phone with me, and she'll be talking so low. And she would say, oh, well, he's just petty. So, I don't want him to have his mom kick me out and I have nowhere to go because I'm on the phone with another man. And I'm like, why does that even matter if y'all aren't dealing with each other and y'all are just co-parenting and y'all both just don't have anywhere to stay? So y'all both are just living with his mom. Why does it matter who you're talking to on the phone? So I ended up telling them, you need to make sure he knows about me and knows that you're dealing with someone and, all these things. So I ended up telling them, because they wanted me to go out with their son. They wanted to do that on Halloween. Halloween. Around that time, they wanted to go out and take their son, like, not trick-or-treating, but all those certain like Halloween events and things that goes on. They wanted to do that and wanted me to be included. So I was like, I know I wouldn't want my child to be around a guy without my knowledge. So I was like, you need to make sure he knows these things before you do that. She told me that he knows these things. She told him, and everything's fine. He knows that she's dealing with someone and all these things. So I ended up going out with her and her son, and I ended up getting to know her son, and I kind of formed a bit of a bond with him, and then another moment ends up happening where we're on the phone and she's talking really low. And I'm like, why do you have to change your interaction with me because he's around? That's weird to me, And I'm like, I thought you told him that you were dealing with someone and all these things. And she's like, yeah, I did. I'm just trying to keep a low volume. You're tripping. And I'm like, no, you were just talking much louder before he was around. And now all of a sudden that he's around, you're like completely changing up your mood. You're talking as though, you have something to hide. And long story short, I end up realizing what I was doing to myself by dealing with this person. And I decided that I wanted to walk away. And I acted off of emotion. I let my emotion get the best of me because I felt played. And honestly, I regret some of the things that I said out of emotion, even if it was deserved. I've never done anything crazily disrespectful, like put my hands on that person or nothing like that. I'm not even that type of person. I'm the type of person that, I may express how I feel to you and what you're doing to me, but I'll never do anything to you because it's not worth it. I'd rather leave you alone and move forward in my life before I do something stupid to ruin my life more than you already played a part in ruining my life. But I just ended up wanting to just walk away, and it was hard. They had their clothes here because they were always with me a lot of the time. Even before going to work, they would drive over here to come see me. So I gave them an opportunity to get their clothes back, because they had a lot of clothes here and I didn't want to just throw it away. They didn't want me to go to where I was picking them up, which is the baby daddy's mom's house. They wanted me to come to their mom's house to pick up the items. I was already close by where the baby daddy mom's lives. So, I was like, I'm not going to go to the door or anything like that, but you can just come there and get your items. you know, because if not, I'm going to have to throw it away. And it was a lot of clothes and stuff. And I didn't want to just do that, you know, and act off of being petty just because a person is hurting me, you know. And they got afraid of the fact that I would go and let their baby daddy know who I was, which showed me that they never told that person to begin with, even though they said they did. They were still keeping me a secret. And basically, they wanted me to come to their mom's house instead. And I'm like, I'm already here. So do you want me to just sit the clothes somewhere? Because I don't want to take this back to my house. I'm giving you an opportunity to get them. I'm not going to drive all the way to your mom's house to give you your stuff when I'm already here. And, you know, a lot of commotion happened. They were trying to prevent me from talking to their baby daddy, which wasn't even my intentions to begin with. I really just wanted to just move on from this person, you know. And once I had my mind made up, I didn't even care if he knew about me or not at that point, you know, because my life will go on. You meet people, you lose people. It happens. It's a part of life. And basically, I ended up going back home with the same clothing, and it just stayed in my house, you know. And I could have just threw it out or threw it in the trash or, you know, things like that, but I really just didn't want to be petty, you know. And so much came out after the fact. A lot of individuals that they told me I had nothing to worry about, come to find out they were dealing with those people or once dealt with those people, while also still communicating with people that they once dealt with while dealing with me. Even had a best friend, a guy best friend, that they told me I had nothing to worry about because, you know, oh, he's ugly, or, you know, he's white and they're not interested in that, and, you know, all those certain things to try to make me feel like I have nothing to worry about. And I didn't really too much trip about it because I also had a female best friend, you know, that I was cool with. So, you know, who am I to say you can't have a best friend even though I got a best friend? So I didn't really trip about that. But come to find out, they were dealing with that same individual, you know, and it's just so many red flags that I ignored even from the beginning of time. The person that told me, the person that put me on to dealing with them, said in the messages basically to just smash her. Basically is what he said. He basically said just smash her. And for him to say that, that was already a red flag, because it's like, okay, so he's basically saying she's not wife material, just smash her and leave it at that. But, you know, the vibes and, you know, I ignored it, you know, the vibes and how that person was and things like that. I just was just trying to find someone that I can potentially make my wife. And, you know, by the time I really started to realize a lot of things, I was already built up in that person and really just head over heels with that person, that I ignored so many different things that I should had never ignored, you know. And it just, so much that was going on and so much that came out. They were dealing with so many people on their job. They ended up getting transferred from one location to another location because they were dealing with so many guys on the job. And it was just causing too much commotion and a mess. And, you know, having issues with, you know, her manager, and, you know, just so many different things that was going on. that I was aware of. And it's just so many things I ignored. But I'm really just using this not only to vent, but also to tell those that are going through something similar that if you know your worth, move on from that person that's doing you wrong. Because you're going to hurt yourself more staying with that person than you leaving that person. You can heal from leaving someone, but you can't heal from staying with someone. Nor can you force a person to love you, to care for you, or to treat you how you treat them. And if they're not treating you how you treat them, leave that person alone and go for what you deserve. Because at some point you will find that person that's going to care for you like you care for them and are willing to care for them. Because you can't change anyone. No matter what you say, no matter how many times you express how you feel, especially when they show that they have no care about how you feel, or just want to reverse your feelings to make you feel bad for even expressing your feelings, you're never going to make that person change. Ever. You're never going to make that person change. But what you can do is control yourself and make a change for yourself. Even if you think, oh, if I leave this person, it's going to hurt. I'm going to be down. I love this person. That person don't love you. Because if they love you, they would change for you. When it comes to a relationship, change happens. And sometimes you're going to make changes. You're going to make sacrifices for that person that you love. That just comes with love. Changes. There might be certain traits in you that person, it bothers that person. And you may have to adjust your certain trait to help that person so that y'all can have a better relationship so you're not hurting that person. You know, it's just a part of being with someone. You're never going to be perfect to someone, and that person's never going to be perfect to you. But if someone is expressing something that's bothering them, you should take it into consideration, especially if that's someone that you really want to be with. And especially if it's not doing you any harm. Because best believe if someone's expressing something that they don't like out of you, I'm pretty sure it's something that you might at some point express that you don't like of them. And they're supposed to be able to adjust and make a change as well. But when you have someone that does not want to change, you have to move on. You have to. Because you're just going to hurt yourself and dig yourself in a deeper hole. And I'm glad that I was able to rise myself out of that hole after I digged myself in a deep hole. Just through dealing with someone that I had no bad intentions with. I didn't have intentions of just smashing them. I didn't have intentions of using them for anything because I'm not a user. If I deal with someone, I believe we should grow together. Even if I have more than what you have, we're still going to grow together. I'm going to catch you up to speed. It's just called growth. So I never deal with someone with the intentions of using someone. And with that person, I couldn't use them to begin with because they didn't have too much for me to even use. I genuinely cared about that person. But I cared about that person too much, more than I should have. And I was giving more effort than they were giving me. And that's when you have to leave a person. Especially if you give them the opportunity to change. And they don't want to change, you have to move on. Without that person, you have to move on. Even if you love that person, love them from a distance. Because they don't love you like you love them. And it should be equal love. Love should never be one-sided. It should be equally. But I've seen a few videos, you guys, and Even it's so much that happened in between then that would really make you guys like, wow, right? So I'm gonna say this last one, right? Now, the person that I was dealing with before me, they were also dealing with someone that I knew, but they were dealing with that person years ago prior to me knowing that person. They were dealing with someone that I knew, and they told me, that I have nothing to worry about. They are not even interested in that person, that person's weak in the bed. The one time that they did do anything, and that they think that person is gay, and that he's weird, and all these different things that they said, but they were following that person on Instagram. So you're saying all these things about this person, but you're still following them on Instagram. So if they're so weird, or always blowing up your phone, or always trying to meet up with you and you ignore them and all these things, why are you still following that person on social media? But they were still following that person. And when I expressed that, I'm like, but you're still following them. They're like, oh, well, I have no problem to unfollow them if that's what you want me to do. I said, no, I want you to do what you feel like you want to do. And they ended up unfollowing that person. Tell me why, once we broke up, they went back to following that person and everything. The same person that they were talking about was gay, and he's ugly, and he's this and fat and this and that and that. They went back to following that person, so it's just crazy how manipulative and how much of a narcissist a person can be. And it's like, when they're a narcissist, they don't even realize what they're doing. They think that what they're doing is fine. Even if others around them are telling them what they're doing is wrong, and you're telling them, they still feel as though what they're doing is fine. They don't see anything wrong in what they're doing. And that's exactly how she was. And it's crazy, but I want to look at some of these videos, you guys. I want to look at some of these videos. These are really interesting videos, and it might help somebody. It definitely might help somebody. So I want to show you guys these videos. Let me see if I can pull it up, because I don't know what I'm doing. I genuinely don't know what I'm doing. Okay, here we go. So we're gonna watch some of these videos, you guys, and I want to know you guys' take as well. I was gonna do this as a live video, but I was just like, I'd rather just do this as an actual video. But I want to know you guys' take on some of this stuff. Let me see. Okay, so we're gonna watch this one. Let's refresh.
Unfollow an ex that is no longer.
Here we go. Hold on, because it's like.
Ask your partner to unfollow an ex that is no longer your partner anymore. I really mean this, that there's a certain level of maturity that is required to have a decent relationship. I didn't say extraordinary relationship, I said decent relationship. And one of them is not having to explain that you having ties to a past partner is a problem to this current relationship, because you're bringing that here. And so, excuse me for a second, see this space? It's mine. You're bringing something in here that I don't like. Now the real question is, do you even want a relationship, or is that something you still want in your life? And I promise you, the worst thing that you can do is have to convince other people to do things for themselves that requires common sense. Because then you have somebody who's a liability in your circle. So maybe you should question that a little bit more. If you need to ask your...
And you know what? I want to know you guys' take on that, but that's very true. You shouldn't have to ask anybody to do anything. That should be really common sense. And with that person, they even went and told that guy that I made them unfollow him on Instagram, when I never told them to do that. They chose to do that. It's just crazy what people do these days. And, it's really sad how some people are. It really is. especially for someone that said that they've been through so much in their life and so much hurt and pain in their life. Why would you want to cause that to someone else, especially someone that is actually caring for you and actually supporting you and want to see you do better and doing you nothing but right? Why would you want to cause pain to that type of person? You know? But I want to know you guys' take on that right there. Now let's see this other one here. Let me refresh.
Ever snapped at someone after being pushed to your breaking point only for them to turn it around on you? That's called reactive abuse. Reactive abuse happens when somebody who's been repeatedly manipulated, provoked, mistreated finally reacts, often in a way that seems out of character, but then the abuser uses your reaction to make you look like you're the problem. They may say things like, see, you're the crazy one, or you're the abusive one here, and it's a tactic for them to shift blame and avoid accountability for their behavior. But let's be clear, your reaction doesn't make you the abuser. It's a very human response to being emotionally overwhelmed or pushed past your limits. It's also one of the most misunderstood dynamics in toxic relationships, and it leaves a lot of victims feeling guilty or ashamed for how they responded. But remember that reacting to abuse doesn't make you abusive. It's a sign of how deeply their behavior has affected you. What matters is recognizing that pattern from the abuser, breaking free, and prioritizing your healing, because you deserve a life where you don't have to defend your actions or your reality. Have you ever?
So how do you guys feel on that? I want to know you guys' take on that, you know? I feel like this is very much true, you know? There's a lot of people that they reach their breaking point of trying to keep changing a person that won't change, but you care about that person so much that you really want them to change, that you're trying everything in your power to get them to recognize themselves or their actions. And even if they say that they get it or they apologize, they just continue to repeat the same actions over and over again. It's like you just get frustrated to the point that you might yell at that person, you know, because you're acting off of, I want you to change. I want you to change for us. I want you to change so that we can move forward, that we can be happy. Because if you want me to change, I'm willing to change. So why is it so difficult for you? You know, when you really shouldn't even have to tell that person that. But sometimes people are so caught up in their ways that they don't want to change. And those are people that you got to walk away from. And this goes for anyone watching this. If someone's doing you wrong, do not continue to allow them to do that just to keep them in your presence. Know your worth, because you're worth more than them. Trust me. Let's see this one right here. Nah, I don't really want to see this one. We're going to watch this one right here.
Tend to think that every disagreement is an argument.
Hold on, let me see.
People can't communicate tend to think that every disagreement is an argument, and people who lack accountability think every piece of feedback is an attack. And that right there will kill a relationship faster than cheating ever could. Because when someone cannot talk things through, everything feels like an attack to them. You're not arguing, you're clarifying. But to them, clarity feels threatening. And when someone avoids accountability, even gentle feedback feels like disrespect. Not because you were rude, but because ownership makes them uncomfortable. So instead of listening, they defend. Instead of reflecting, they deflect. Instead of growing, they just shut down. And this is why so many people say, I can't talk to them about anything. It's not that you're too sensitive. It's not that you're asking for too much. You're just dealing with someone who hasn't developed their emotional maturity yet. Healthy people can disagree without disrespect. Healthy people can receive feedback without feeling attacked. And healed people don't turn conversations into combat. So if every conversation feels exhausting, tense, or unsafe, pay attention to that. It's not communication. It's incompatibility. Be sure to follow for more. People who can't communicate.
You know what though? The crazy thing is, so many people would say they're big on communication and really not be big on communication. Even with her in the beginning, she's like, communication is everything and communication is key. And I want my guy to be able to talk to me about things. But then when I go to talk to you about things, it's you're being insecure or I can't do anything right. You know, all these different things to turn things on me. And instead of me standing on how I feel, now I'm worried about how you feel when you shouldn't even be feeling how you feel. You're feeling attacked now, you know, and because you're sad or you're down now, I'm trying to make you feel better for me expressing what you have done that bothers me. But I want to say this, fellas, it's okay to express yourself. It's okay to talk about what hurts you or what's bothering you. Don't let anyone say you're being soft or you're being a punk or anything like that for you expressing yourself. I don't know who made it a thing that guys isn't supposed to cry or guys isn't supposed to have emotion. And that makes a lot of guys hold in their emotion. And that's why a lot of fellas have so much anger built up in each other, built up in themselves that, you know, now they take it out on one another, you know, whether it's killing one another, fighting one another, or, you know, everyone's walking around looking so angry and tough when they see other guys, you know, because they feel like they gotta be tough. They're not allowed to cry. And that's how even myself have felt for the longest. Men don't cry, you know, that's soft. Even moments that I used to do that as a kid, like I used to express myself to my dad, you know, he would make it like I'm being soft. So it just made me to a point that I felt like, oh, well, this my dad. I look up to him. He's saying I'm being soft, so I'm never going to express myself. That I held in so much that I was going through to the point that every time there was an altercation with someone at school or something like that, now I'm overreacting. Now because you done did something that I didn't like, even if it was something little, I'm ready to fight you now. I'm ready to fight you now. And it's like, it just made me have so much built up anger in me that could have been different had I just felt like I was able to talk to people and it not being presented as me being soft or me being a punk or me being a bitch or, you know, like maybe things would have been different, you know. But fellas, it's okay to express yourself. It's okay to cry. It's okay to do those things. Nothing's wrong with it. Don't let a woman or anyone make you feel like that makes you soft. And if they do feel that way, who cares how they feel? Be you. If you want to express yourself, if you want to cry, if you want to be sad or whatever the case may be, you're allowed to do that. Everyone's allowed to do that. And just because you are a man doesn't mean that you can't cry or be sad or show emotion. It's okay to do that. Let me see if I got another one. I'm gonna do this last one. If it even refresh. I'm trying to get it to refresh. Let me see. So you guys can really is.
Somebody told me over communicating is a form of begging. They heard you and they didn't give a fuck. So stop. And that's the one right there. I'm telling you. Tighten the fuck up, lock in. And I'm not gonna lie. Somebody told me over communicating is a form of begging. They heard you and they didn't give a fuck. So stop.
And this right here has, this short video had, look at the views. Almost at 500K likes. You know? And this is the truth. You know? Over communicating is a form of begging. because you're begging that person. You're begging that person to get how you feel. And that person doesn't care how you feel. So if you're begging that person to get how you feel, walk away. You shouldn't have to tell a person how you feel and you don't see no change after the first time. Because if they care about you, if they love you, they're going to make that change. And it might not be right away because no one's perfect. Sometimes it takes learning a person to really make a change, but you're going to see some sort of effort. And when you don't see that effort, you need to leave that person alone, because it's not going to help you trying to explain to this person how they should treat you. Yes, it takes time for a person to learn you as a person, but it's a difference between learning a person and adjusting to a person. Because if a person's trying to get you to adjust to them, they're explaining to you how they feel or something that you done made them feel that way. That's when that change should take action. There should be some sort of change being attempted. But when there's no change being attempted, or a repeat of that person still doing something, if not the same or something similar to what you said you did not like, they don't care about how you feel. They only care about how they feel. And they know what they have over you. They know that them expressing themselves, you're going to change immediately. And they know that you expressing yourself, they can reverse it around and make you feel bad for you expressing yourself. Those aren't the people that you want in your circle. And it's just so much, even dealing with that girl that I was dealing with, you know, even just how she talk about her friends. You know, she has one friend that she would talk about, you know, oh, she's a hoe and she's always dealing with different guys and, you know, all these different things. And I'm nothing like that. I know people say that you are who you hang around, but I'm nothing like her. You know, she's always around different guys and, oh, she just slept with this guy and she caught herpes from dealing with this guy and she just nasty and just out here just doing anything. And the whole time you're doing, if not the same, maybe worse, the things that you're talking about your friend is doing. You're just more at hiding it. She's just more open with what she's doing. That makes you no better, if not worse than her. And it's just, it's crazy how some people are. And you could be good to a person and still get mistreated. But guess what? If that person's mistreating you, move on. Now, you guys, that I talked about that, not only did I vent, but I also hopefully helped those that might be going through something similar. Whether it's dealing with someone that's mistreating you or bad at communicating with you or taking in and considering how you feel. Like, I hope I helped someone watching this. And that's, even if it's one person, I'm happy of that alone. But this wasn't just towards fellas, towards women. This is towards anyone dealing with someone, period. If you're dealing with someone that shows lack of care for your feelings and only want you to care about how they feel, leave that person. Don't over beg a person to change for you, because there's someone in this world that are willing to hear everything that you have to say and willing to change anything that you may dislike or find uncomfortable that they do, and they're willing to make that change, and you just haven't come along that person yet. Some people are really affected by their ways that they just don't want to change, but they also don't know how to change. And you can only help a person but so much. And this woman that I dealt with put me through a lot, to the point that I was in a really dark place. A really, really dark place that I thought I wasn't going to be able to get out of. But guess what? I've been pushing myself out of it. I've been going to the gym. I've been, just being more to myself and focusing on myself, catering to myself, and just not stressing about things that are out of my control. And it's been helping me so much. You guys, you got to start worrying about what's not in your control and worry about what's in your control. And controlling another person is something that you can't control. As much as you might want to, you can't change nobody, no matter how hard you work. I don't care if you take a year to try to change that person, 2 years to try to change that person. You're never going to change that person because they never had any intention to change to begin with. And don't allow a person to revert how you feel and make you feel like how you feel doesn't matter, or how you're expressing yourself, you shouldn't be expressing yourself. Don't allow them to do you in that way. Don't allow them to be like, oh, I feel like I'm walking on eggshells with you, or how you express, or I can't do anything right, or, all these different things. You can't do anything right because you don't want to change what you're doing wrong. And because what you're doing wrong, you don't see as you're doing wrong. And how I'm acting, you feel as though I should not be acting that way because you don't feel like you're doing wrong. But let it be the other way around. You want a person to change immediately as soon as you express yourself. But some people demand respect, but won't give you the respect that they demand for. And that's the type of people you got to keep yourself away from. But now, you guys, we're going to talk about when it comes to me creating content. I really want to get back into creating content. I don't know exactly what I want to do. I'm capable of doing so many different things. Many of you may know, some may not. I'm able to sing. I'm good at video games. I'm good at graphic designing. I'm good at 3D designing. I'm good at drawing, and so many different things that I can do. I also have been really heavy into fitness now. I've been going to the gym almost every day. So it's so many different things that I can get into to entertain you guys. I can talk about life. I can talk about, the things that I've been through, and, just like I'm doing in this video. It's so many different things that I can do to create content for you guys, but I really want to get back into creating content. And I just want to know, what do you guys want to see me do? Give me some ideas. You can mention some of the things that I just mentioned. You can mention something else that you would like to see me do. Of course, I'm willing to do reactions. That's always going to be a thing. Whether it's reacting to music, I'm big. I'm big on music. I love music. So, I'm always willing to give my thoughts and opinions on music and artists. I'm not judgmental. I love music from all around the world, as you can see on my channel. So I react to all sorts of music, no matter where a person is from. So if there's any sort of singers, artists, rap even, that you want to see me react to and give my thoughts and opinions, comment some below. I will react to it and give my thoughts and opinions. Let me know how you guys felt about this video. I know it's very different from the norm, seeing me give my thoughts and talk about my life and things that I've been through and things like that. And it also helped me in a way. And you guys just talk to me, man. I'll be reading the comments. I know it's been a while since I've done any videos for you guys. But trust me, I'm trying. I really am trying. It's just so many obstacles and things that come along in my life that just messes up things for me. But it's never me just purposely not trying to do content or not wanting to do videos. I'm very appreciative of those that watch me, those that have subscribed to my channels, those that find interest in seeing me. So I will never take that for granted, even though I know it may seem like I do because I don't be creating content. And also I wanna take the time to do something else, right? So I'm going to take the time to, I have notes that the girl that I was dealing with wrote to me, and I'm going to take this as a moment to rip them up because, hold on. So it's crazy how a person would make it seem like they care, especially when they're writing like long notes to you. Long notes. I mean, look at this. You see this right here? You can't see it because I can't get it to focus, but you see that right there? I'm talking about writing. I'm trying to make it focus, but it won't seem to do that. So nothing I can do about that. But I'm going to rip up some of these, man. I'm going to rip up some of these. Well, all of them, honestly. Here's another one right here. You know, and I have plenty of more that they wrote to me, you know, so I'm really going to take the time to just rip it up, man, because it's really time to move forward. You know, it really is. It's really time to really just move forward. I'm trying to see if I have any more. I had one somewhere, but yeah, this is going to be a moment. You know, this is definitely going to be a moment. So I'm gonna read one of them to give you guys an idea of what it says, since you can't see what it says. It says, "To my gentle giant," that's what I was called. It's hard to see because some of the stuff is like the ink is blurred away a little bit, but it says, "It's really not hard to explain why I love you. But I hope with this note, you never have to question or doubt my feelings for you. Before you, I had given up on dating, honestly. I'd given up on wanting love, finding love, or being in a relationship. I figured it wasn't in the cards for me. But lo and behold, here you come, changing my mind. Meeting you for the first time in person, I feel like all the dead butterflies in my stomach came back to life. I felt hope bubbling inside me. I thought that the love I wanted wasn't going to come from me and find me, but clearly I was wrong. You are an amazing man to me. You are my peace, my safe space, and my light. You quiet the storms in my head. You allow me to be the unfiltered version of myself with no judgment. You allow me to be vulnerable. You give me motivation to do better and be better. You make me blush like a schoolgirl every day we talk or see each other. I mean, honestly, why would I want anyone else when you're all here for me? You give me room to learn and take accountability for my actions. You always tell me what I need to hear instead of just being a yes man. telling me what I want to hear. You don't make me feel like a burden when I'm in a dark headspace. You listen to me and pay attention to everything I say and I do. I love that you bring me out my comfort zone, making me feel like I can be comfortable and to talk about uncomfortable conversations. I love that you make me feel beautiful even when I know I look crazy. LOL. I never have to question if you are there for me because you prove it with your... It's long, you guys. You prove it with your words and actions and reassurance you give me every day. It's a lot. Look at this, front and back. You see right here, front and back. You see, they wrote all of this just to be doing me wrong. It's crazy. Just to be doing me wrong. And I have multiple papers like this, if not more, writing than this. You know, even these are the smaller ones, but you know, I'm gonna take the time to finally, you know, let them go. You know, why am I even holding on to it? Like, honestly, why? You know, because you never cared to begin with. Honestly, you never cared. As much as you tried to make it seem like you care, you never cared. Because if you cared, you wouldn't done me the way that you did. So I'm over it. I'm letting go, fully letting go, even though I've been let go for some time now. Just holding on to even something like that I should have never held on to, but I knew I was going to do this video eventually, and I wanted to have that moment, you know. When I find the other ones, I'm just going to rip them up off camera. But it's insane that a person could write all of those great positive things about you, but still do everything to lose you instead of doing what they should do to keep you, while you're doing everything that you can to keep them, not only to keep them, but to also change them for the better than for the worse, you know. But you got to know your worth, and I hope you guys all know your worth. Know your worth. Never rely on someone else for happiness, because that person is going to know that control that they have over you, and they're going to do you wrong and know that they can do you wrong, and you're going to stay. Walk away. And some people are just too prideful in their ways to change, and some just don't want to change. But guess what? Don't force it upon them. Do better for yourself. And I want everyone that's watching this to do better for themselves. Don't let anyone bring you down. Don't rely on anyone for happiness. Don't beg anyone to change. Be you, and whoever loves you and care for you, they're going to naturally be around you. Not for what you got, not for your looks. They're going to be around you for you. And those that really care about you are willing to change for you, willing to adjust for you. And if they're not willing to do that, you can't force that on them as much as you may want to, because you're going to waste your time. Anyways, you guys, thank you for the love and support. Any videos that you guys want to see, that you want to see me react to, I'm always willing to react to it. Any content you want to see, I do have my camera. I got the nice camera, whatever. I got to get a memory card for it. So I want to start doing some IRLs. And I just got so many things that I want to start doing for you guys, and content I want to start creating. And I think it's going to be a fun year this year, a year that I'm really going to focus on myself. And if I happen to come across someone that truly makes me happy, and, you know, I really see some potential, I'm going to go for it. But other than that, I'm not going to go looking, because sometimes when you go looking in the wrong places that you don't even know is in the wrong places. And by the time you find out you went looking in the wrong place, by then you're already in a deep hole with that person and how you feel about that person. So don't go looking. Just let things come natural when it comes to finding someone, because sometimes being in a relationship or getting involved with someone, you can get really scared because that person has that opportunity. They have your heart in their hands. And I gave that person my heart. And instead of locking it up and protecting it, they were flip-floppy. One minute it seemed like they were protecting it. The next minute it seems like they were just letting it just sit out. And, you know, it was just, the emotions was too flip-floppy. And it shouldn't be that way. If a person loves you, they're supposed to always love you, always consider you in everything that they do. All of their actions should be considering you or how you may feel. It should never be them just considering their self or how they feel, or, you know. And when a person is not considering you, consider yourself and walk the fuck away from them. But you guys, thank you for watching. Thank you for supporting. Those that's new to my channel, make sure you hit that subscribe button. Make sure you share this video, you guys. And thank you for the support. And even though she may not see this video, Lakaya, thank you for helping me. Thank you for helping me see my worth. Thank you for helping me want to do better for myself. Because instead of me using the pain to continue to be in pain, I use the pain to rise above the pain. And it's just going to make me work even harder, do even better. And it just gave me an opportunity to one day find someone even better that's going to be worth what I have to offer. And that's a great guy that's very understanding, you know, willing to rise with someone, and so many different things that I can say about myself. I feel like I'm a pretty decent individual. And you know what's the crazy thing about it, you guys? Even her baby daddy's mom said that I seemed like a really great person. And mind you, I never even tried to contact the mom or the baby daddy. It just so happened that somehow the mom contacted me. I don't know if the baby daddy went through her phone and found my number and gave it to his mom to contact me, but she ended up contacting me. And that's how everything, all the lies came about. That's how. But thank you. Thank you for making me want to work harder and do better for myself. And it's only made me want to just do better. That's it. That's really what it did. It just made me want to do better. At first I was a little mopey, a little down, and you know, the things that you go through when you're down, when you and a person is no longer together. But guess what? Once I locked in and I realized who I was, it was no more being mopey. And this right here is literally the last time I'm going to be any sort of feeling, any sort of way towards this situation, because I'm better off without you. But I'm out, you guys. You're going to see much more content coming from me, you guys. So much more content coming from me. You have my word. Peace.